Hiring a web designer can feel a lot like buying a car when you don't know much about engines. Everyone sounds confident and everyone says they can help. But once you sign the contract, backing out can be hard, expensive, and deeply stressful if you realize they're not the right fit. That is especially true when web accessibility comes up. Today, you're going to learn the 5 questions to ask your web designer before you sign a contract, so you can easily spot who truly understands accessibility and who is just saying they do. Why is it important to ask your designer about accessibility? Because whenever possible, accessibility isn't something that should be patched in after a website's already built. It directly affects how people move through your website, how they read your content, how they submit forms, understand your calls to action, and contact your business. In other words, it's about ensuring your website actually works for your customers. That includes people who use screen readers, navigate with keyboards instead of a mouse, or rely on captions, Zoom tools, or other assistive technology. But it also includes a busy customer trying to quickly find an answer, someone watching your content while commuting, or someone who is simply tired and just needs an easy customer journey. When a designer understands accessibility, they build a clearer, easier to use, and more thoughtful website from the ground up. So let's break down the 5 essential questions you need to ask before signing on the dotted line. 1. How do you build accessibility into your process from the start? This is the first question to ask because it immediately reveals how the designer thinks. You're listening for signs that accessibility is a core part of their normal workflow, not an upgrade or an additional service. A strong answer makes it clear that they think about accessibility during planning, design, content structure, development, and testing. They should mention planning page structures, headings, buttons, forms, navigation, color contrast, image descriptions, and keyboard use early on. Be cautious if they say they can add accessibility later or if they rely on a plugin or a widget. 2. How do you test whether a website is actually accessible? This question separates people who talk about accessibility from people who actually practice it. You want to hear that they do more than just rely on automated scans, which only catch part of the picture. A serious designer will talk about manual reviews and practical testing. Look for signs like testing navigation with a keyboard, checking heading structures, reviewing forms and error messages, verifying color contrast, and checking how content works with screen readers on both desktop and mobile devices. Again, watch out if their answer leans heavily on a single automated tool or software promise. If they recommend an accessibility widget or overlay as their main solution, that is a major red flag. Question 3, can you show me examples of websites you've made more accessible? This question moves the conversation from theory to proof. A confident, experienced designer should be able to talk about real accessibility decisions they've made on past projects. Listen for specifics. Maybe they improved site navigation for keyboard users, made booking forms easier to complete, corrected heading structures for screen reader users, or helped the client organize content more clearly. If they're newer to accessibility, look for honesty. A designer who says, "This is not my strongest area, but I bring in help when needed," is far more trustworthy than one who overpromises. Question 4, who is responsible for accessibility after launch? This is one of the most overlooked questions, and it can save you a mountain of frustration later. A website is not a static brochure. It changes over time. You'll add new pages, upload PDFs, swap images, or maybe post blogs or videos to your website. All of that can break accessibility over time. A great designer won't pretend that accessibility is a one and done deal. They will provide clear guidance, training, or post-launch reviews to ensure you and your team know how to keep your site accessible. Question 5, what happens if website accessibility isn't your specialty? Not every talented web designer is an accessibility specialist, and that's perfectly okay. The real issue is whether they know their limits and if they're honest with you about them. A trustworthy designer will tell you where their expertise ends and how they bring in a specialist or partner with someone to review the work. What you do not want is a defensive or dismissive answer. If they act annoyed or brush off the question during the hiring process, It's not going to get better after the contract is signed. Let's look at an example of how these questions can help protect your business. Imagine you find an incredibly talented designer to help you build a new website. You ask about accessibility, and the designer confidently says, "We care about accessibility. Our software handles that." You don't vet further, and the contract is signed. Unbeknownst to you, the designer treats accessibility as a separate feature. They push it to the very end of the project and install a third-party accessibility widget. Once the site launches, the nightmare begins. The widget actually interferes with the assistive technology that disabled users rely on. Customers trying to use a keyboard find themselves completely trapped and unable to navigate the menu. Screen readers get entirely lost because the headings were styled to look a certain way, but they're completely out of order structurally. To make matters worse, you upload a copy of your service price list as a raw image with no alt text. Your new site isn't performing as expected, and you have no idea customers are getting frustrated and simply leaving your site. If you're lucky and a customer reaches out and lets you know there are issues, and I mean really lucky, because most people will just leave and not tell you, you now have lost revenue and the additional expense of having to fix your website so it works the way it should have in the first place. That's not the situation you want to find yourself in. Now let's see how your experience is if you ask the 5 questions. The designer honestly admits that deep web accessibility compliance is not their primary specialty, but they actively partner with an accessibility specialist to co-review the work. You've really clicked with the designer and you love their style, so you understand to work with them. There would be an additional cost to incorporate an accessibility specialist. You want to ensure that your business is as inclusive as possible, so you agree and sign the contract. From day one, they plan a clear page structure, verify sharp color contrast, and build a booking form that is fully accessible. During development, they manually test the site using screen readers and keyboard controls. They collaborate on alt text, page titles, captioning videos, and PDFs. Real accessibility is built directly into the website itself, completely eliminating the need for a glitchy widget. Before handing over the keys, the designer and accessibility specialist provide practical training and clear guidance for you and your team to maintain the website. The result? A stunning website that works for more customers, protecting your brand and maximizing opportunities. Choosing who builds your website isn't just about a price, timeline, or a designer's portfolio style. It is entirely about how your website will work for your future client. Asking these 5 questions help you avoid vague promises, surface-level fixes, and expensive surprises later on down the road. Remember, you don't have to choose between a talented designer you love and accessibility expertise. We partner directly with web designers and business owners to make accessibility a seamless part of the creative process. If you want to keep working with the designer you love while adding experienced accessibility support to your project, check the description below to learn how to work with us. And until then, watch this video YouTube thinks you'll like.